Hi, everyone, and welcome to the video, another video here. I am pre-recording this. I usually do my live streams every Thursday morning in my Facebook group as well as on my YouTube channel here. And I'm going to be out of town. So here I am pre-recording. This is kind of fun. This is kind of different. And once again, thank you so much for your support of my channel. Make sure that you like, subscribe, what you like here. It helps support the channel. And yeah, I'm going to get started right here. So, if you are new to my channel, I am Liz Philippone. I help people stay strong, confident, and independent by combining evidence based training with mindful movement and nervous system support. And I do this through my business, Mindfully Fit Ninja. And my approach focuses on building resilience, not perfection. So clients can move better, reduce pain, and continue doing what they love for years to come. So today's topic, I am going to be talking about everyday strength. Can you trust your body to move? That's quite a heavy question. Um, last week's conversation, I talked about building a strong foundation, which is very, very important, especially if, let's say, you're not trusting your body to move. So check out my video last week. It's under my live streams or the live tab on my YouTube channel. And if you're in my Facebook group, Mindfully Fit for Life, you're going to find in the feed all my videos in there as well. So I talked about last week mobility, stability, balance, coordination, and strength all create the foundation for how we move. It's not just one thing. When people think of balance, they think of, or I'm sorry, foundation, they think of just, I got to work on my balance, right? There's all those other factors involved with foundation. So, but there's this another piece of that foundation that we don't always talk about. And it's, do you actually trust your body to move? I mean, I'll answer it. Yeah, I trust my body to move. I've been in this game for a long time. There's certain things, sure, that I'm a little hesitant to do. I'll just name it right off my head. What's coming up? Rock climbing. Yeah, I'm kind of hesitant to do that just because I don't do it. Am I afraid to try it? No, no, but I would probably start small, right? I'd probably work with an expert on that before I dive into a whole day of it, right? Is there something you used to do without thinking about that now you hesitate before you do it? Um, there's certain dance moves. I'm a dancer. I take dance every week, and I there are some moves I hesitate now to do. Things that I'm like, oh, I used to do that all the time when I was like in my teens, 20s, and now when I do it or see it and am being asked to do it by my teacher, I kind of, I don't know, this thing goes in my head. Does that happen to you? So maybe it's getting down on the floor, right? Maybe it's taking the stairs, right, as opposed to the elevator in a building, walking on an uneven ground, right? If someone's like, we're going to go for a hike, or we're going to go for a picnic, or we're going to go to this festival and it's outdoors on this terrain, and da 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 da, right? Maybe stepping off a curb, right? You're very careful about stepping off curbs. And then carrying something heavy, right? Whether it is a little person, right? Or even just grocery bags or sheetrock or something like that, right? Especially if you're doing like home improvement stuff, right? So just thinking about that, is there something you used to do without thinking about that you now hesitate before doing? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your answer. So, what does it mean to trust your body? Body confidence isn't necessarily about looking a certain way. I'm not talking about aesthetics. I'm not talking about like how you look. Okay. It is knowing I can get myself back up, right? Maybe getting back up from the floor. Maybe you tripped and fell, knowing that you can get yourself back up. That is body confidence. I can catch my balance, right? Maybe I stumble on uneven ground and I'm able to reset myself, recalibrate. My legs can handle these stairs, right? You look at a staircase and you're like, my legs can handle this. Yeah, that's confidence. That's body confidence. I can carry this, whatever it is. I can bend down and get back up. I know how to modify something if I need to. That's a huge one right there. Sometimes we just look at something and we're like, nope, right? Instead of thinking, how can I approach this? I know sometimes we're pressed for time, but thinking about that, like, how could I adjust this? So trust comes from knowing what your body is capable of. And we build that trust through practice. We got to practice. Oh my gosh. I know. So here are some everyday movements we often take for granted. So here are just a few things. And I talk about these throughout my live streams, but it's always in a different context. So if you watch my other live streams, and remember, you can find my other live streams in the live caption on my YouTube channel to catch past ones in there. But I'm just going to give you a few examples, like getting out of a chair, right? It's something that we never thought about, right? I'm always on this example. I know. I'm sorry for you regular viewers that have to hear this again. But if you're new, I also want you to hear this. But getting out of a chair, I mean, who thought about it, right? Who thought about it? For years, we never thought about it until we reach a certain age and we have to be more intentional, aware, right? Something happened, right? A surgery, an injury, and we have to be more mindful, more aware of how we do it. Okay. And getting up out of a chair, we just don't even, not thinking about it. It requires leg strength, hip mobility, hinging, core stability so that you're steady when you get up out of the chair, and balance, right? Who would have thunk that those four things are required? We don't think about it. We don't. But when we really do think about it, and we are in a situation where it's getting harder to get out of a chair, or we have to really, push and heave our body, it's like, wait a minute, this is different. Okay, so just thinking about that, we need all those elements of getting out of a chair. Stairs. What does that require? Again, we don't think about it because man, I can't even tell you, like as a kid, and I see my daughter do this, going up and down the stairs like it's nothing, right? You don't think about it. You run downstairs to get the thing in the basement, you run back up. Or, if you have an upstairs, same thing, right? You just don't think about it. Or going into buildings, there's stairs, you don't think about it, right? Until things start to not feel right, not feel comfortable doing that movement or performing that task, right? What does stairs require? Single leg strength for sure. You need to push off on one, push up to go up on one leg, right? There is a banister, thank God for that. Balance, coordination, ankle and hip mobility. It's not just hip mobility, it's ankle. Going up, right? You need that nice dorsiflexion. Going down, you need the other way, right? Ball heel, right? And when there's a kink somewhere in that ankle, it can affect everything else above it, right? Whether it's knee or hip. Okay, so you need those four things to deal with stairs going up and down. Carrying groceries, the next one. What does that require? Grip strength. I just did a video for my people with a grip strength. I did a little grip strength workout, really cool. That is definitely required. Core stability, okay? If it's, whether it's one bag or the other, Whether you're holding handles or you're holding it like this, right? We have different bags now these days. I know we have carriages, right? You can just push the carriage, right? But we do need to get them out of the car, right? We need to put them in the car, right? So that's grip strength, core stability, posture too. You're walking, you want to be able, let's say, you want to be able and capable, right, to carry your groceries from the store or from the cart to your car, right? And that requires a good posture and posture control. And then walking while managing a load, right? You're walking with a heavy load. You need to be able to manage that load. Your body needs to be able to manage that load. And the core stability and the posture are going to help you do that. And then the last one I wanted to mention, actually, no, there's a few. There's two more. Sorry. Getting up from the floor. I always get this one, and this one is a really big one. In my Facebook group, when I put poll questions out there, because I want to hear people's challenges and what they struggle with, this one's huge. Getting up from the floor is huge, and that requires mobility, strength, balance, coordination, and confidence. I talked about that last week, those five pillars, pretty much. Those are five pillars right there: mobility, balance, strength, coordination, and confidence. And coordination, it's all in the brain, right? Organizing your brain to organize your body to get up from the floor safely and without pain and with confidence, right? We want that confidence of getting up from the floor, even getting up from a chair. All right. I'm not going to dispel that. Getting up from a chair with confidence is huge too. So, our last one, walking on uneven ground. Not only does that require balance, ankle stability. I talked about ankle mobility with stair climbing, right? Stair climbing and descending, whatever. But you need stability in your ankles, right? So that you don't sprain your ankle. Quick reactions, right? You need to be able to react quickly if you hit a hole, a stump, a rock, a twig, a root, right? Depending on where you're walking. And just awareness of your surroundings. We're talking peripheral nervous system. Yeah, there is such a thing as peripheral nervous system. It's your spatial awareness. And wherever you go, in the rooms you go into, the different environments you go to, outside and inside, okay? Having that awareness of your surroundings, being able to react quickly, having that's the stability in the ankles and balance. Okay. Take a breath there with that one, right? All of that. It's a lot to digest. And there might be one or two of those things that I just mentioned that you might have challenges with, or maybe all of them. But for the most part, I know one usually sticks out, and it's getting up from the floor and getting out of a chair. But sometimes it's those stairs too. So it sometimes is those three things. But I mean, it all happens, right? It's life, right? We always encounter these things in life. So we don't necessarily train these things because we want to become better at exercise. We train them because we want everyday life to feel easier. Okay. So training your body better to get up from the floor, right? That's going to be a little different for somebody. Walking on uneven ground, that training is going to look different and feel different than an everyday gym goer, right? I hope this makes sense. Let me know in the comments if this is making sense, because I know we all have our things, right? We all have our things that are just challenging, right? So let me move on here before I go off on a tangent. So what happens when we stop trusting our body? Just take a moment with that one. Sometimes we begin changing how we move. Have you noticed that? When we stop trusting our bodies, our movement starts to change. We start to change how we move. What might that look like? We might avoid the stairs. We stop getting down on the floor. We hold on to things whenever we balance. Okay. I know sometimes that's necessary depending on what you're doing and the elements involved, but how cool would it be if we didn't have to hold on to anything or anybody? We avoid certain activities. We ask someone else to carry something and become more cautious with the movement. All right. So being cautious isn't necessarily bad because I do it too. Okay. Even now, when I take paths through the woods, I'm cautious, but I'm not like trying to avoid the situation. I'm just being more cautious. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm going to slow down a little bit because I don't know this path. I don't know what's on this path. So I'm just going to kind of slow my pace down a little bit. But consistently avoiding a movement can mean we get less opportunity to practice it, right? And then when we practice something less, it can start to feel even harder and harder and harder. Okay. It's just like exercise, right? For me, I'm just going to give an example with dance. I danced all my life since I was 6 years old. I took ballet, I took jazz, and then I graduated into doing, more modern and contemporary dance, and then went through college, didn't dance for a while, then took a dance class my senior year. And I remember taking modern dance, and I remember it being a little difficult to organize my body again. And I was like 21, 22 at the time. And I was like, what the hell? I used to do this all the time. And it was hard. It was hard then because I took such a long time. I stopped doing it. I stopped practicing it. And then stopped doing it for years and decades, right? After that, and I'm not going to go into that whole story, but restarted about 4 years ago. Talk about being cautious and uncoordinated and unsure and untrusting that my body could do that. I get it. It was like, gosh, I felt hopeless, helpless. I was like, and mad. I felt frustrated and mad at myself, like going, oh my God, I used to do this all the time. And now look at me. But I didn't get up. I didn't give up, right? I didn't give up. I said, you know what? I did this before. Why can't I do it again? I just might have to do it differently. I might have to adjust it, modify it a little bit, okay, to get my confidence back. So confidence often grows through safe, repeated practice, not by waiting until we feel confident first, right? You can't just wait for confidence to come to you. You have to do little things to get back there. And that's a lot of the time, that's most of the time who I work with. My clientele is people who are nervous about doing certain things. Maybe they're wanting to get back into exercise and they have specific goals of why they want to get back to exercise. Like they have a certain activity they want to do. And sometimes it's just, I just want to build more muscle mass because I feel like I'm losing my muscle mass too, right? Because I've had that conversation on my live streams. But we have to start small. And it's amazing when people do things that they're like, oh, wow, I can do that. I am capable of doing that. I thought this never was going to happen, but here I am, right? And then there's hope again. There's confidence. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to say this again. Confidence often grows through safe, repeated practice, not by just waiting until we feel confident first. I know everybody's circumstances are different depending on what's going on in your body due to said things, but there are ways to feel confident again. All right. So I just have a few more things here. I like to keep these down to 30 minutes, below 30 minutes. But here we go. Here's a quick everyday strength check-in. I just want you to think about this, and you can share in the comments when you're watching the replay. You can hit pause after each one. So going to that first movement, sit to stand, getting up from a chair. Can you stand from a chair with control? Can you slowly sit back down? Okay, those are the two questions for that you can ask yourself. The next one is stairs, march, single leg stability, right? Marching like this, or just single leg stability. When you stand near something sturdy for support, can you shift your weight and lift one foot? Does one side feel more confident than the other? Okay. Next is carrying something, right? The groceries. Pick up something appropriate for you, right? Can you walk while keeping your posture relatively steady? Is it steady as you walk, or is it, kind of jerky and a little unsteady? Stepping, walking on that uneven terrain. If appropriate, use a low step. Okay, you can totally try this. Can you step up and down with control, right? And with ease, just going up a stair, down a stair, up a stair, like a low one. You don't have to do a big high one. Okay, so let me know in the comments there, or just kind of journal that, see what comes out, right? This isn't about passing or failing a test. We're simply paying attention to what feels strong and what might need more practice. That's how I assess my clients, right? That's how I like my clients to assess themselves. It's not always me telling people what to do. I want my clients to know how to do those self-assessments, right, on an everyday basis. So how do we build more trust in our bodies? You don't have to start with complicated exercises. Start by practicing the movements you want to maintain, right? Those movements I went over. You want stairs to feel easier? Practice stepping. Want getting out of chairs to feel easier? Practice sitting and standing intentionally. Want to feel more confident carrying things? Practice carries with a variety of things in your home. Want better balance? You can practice safely shifting your weight and spending time on maybe one leg every once in a while. Okay. So the key takeaway here is to train for the life you want to keep living. That's really what it is. And this idea of trusting your body is a big part of why I created my Strong Foundations workshop happening in September. I made a date. I did. I set a date. I know it sounds like, your wedding date, right? September 19th. Time of this workshop and details are going to come later. But I landed a date, September 19th. It's going to happen at Push Fitness in Albany. And I'm just throwing this one out here too. I don't know if you're watching, would you watch this if I recorded it online? I know some people can't make my live workshops in person, but I thought about recording it. So just a little side thought there. Let me know. The workshop isn't about seeing how hard you can work. Okay, that's not what this is about. It's about understanding and practicing the movements that help you feel more capable in everyday life. All right, so, and it's not just me talking the whole time. It's like going to be like an experimental interactive laboratory, right? So we'll explore things like sitting and standing, stepping, balance, carrying, mobility, strength, movement control. Maybe not every single one of those things because it's only going to be 2 hours. It all goes hand in hand, right? But we will be briefly practicing those things and helping each other, helping you get a sense of what works for you, right? And knowing, okay, this feels uncomfortable. Maybe you do need more mobility work here. Maybe you need more strength over here. Yeah. So if you've been saying, I know I need to get stronger, but I'm not sure where to start, this workshop, Strong Foundations, is a great place to begin. I'll be sharing registration details and more information about this workshop very soon, so stay tuned. If you're not on my email my newsletter, why not join, subscribe to this channel, okay? My YouTube channel, join my Facebook group, Mindfully Fit for Life. I'm going to be talking about it a lot more now in the coming weeks. All right. So, what's one movement you would love to feel more confident doing? And put that in the comments, okay? Because strength isn't just about what you can lift, it's about trusting your body to help you do the things that matter to you. All right, everyone. So, next week, we're going to talk about getting back into a routine after the summer because, hey, we're closing in on the summer here. And, why you don't need to start all over again. Okay, I get it. But, sometimes we're good in the summer, we're good with our routine. Maybe this actually applies to every season, right? Of season of life and the seasons. So, that's just a little teaser of what next week's live stream. I am going to go back to my live stream on Thursday mornings at 9 a.m., but they stay recorded and live in my YouTube channel forever. Unfortunately, Facebook, they like to take stuff down. So anyway, you know where to find my library there. So yes, I'm going to put the newsletter link here in the description so you can join my newsletter or just subscribe to my YouTube channel. Keep tuning in and find out what's going on with this workshop. All right, everyone, have a great day. I will talk to you soon. Thanks.